many high value women, they are adapting. They understand the social winds have changed and they are beginning to approach men that they see as valuable. And they are starting the interactions now, which I'm always applauding for women. I'm like, yes, please go out there and start approaching because men are just not approaching these days.
It's interesting because I see it differently. Why? Because so hi everyone, my name is Evelyn and I'm the founder of Love and Connection, a matchmaking and event business here in Edmonton. And I'm always excited to be here to spend time with you as we dish different topics around relationship and dating. And I'm here with
Adam Melnyk. I'm a leadership coach with over a decade of experience in mental illness and addictions, and I'm excited to talk about a very interesting topic. What is it, Evelyn?
So today we will be exploring the topic on I value women, and I think it's something that we hear all the time. So we'll be dissecting, this particular topic, and we can't wait to hear from you as well. So I think it just makes sense for me to start with a woman, and we're talking about I value women. So let's start by saying that by asking or answering the question, what is I value women? What does it actually mean? Right. So when I look at I value women, I'm sure there's a lot of definition on the internet, TikTok and Instagram on what it means. I think I value woman to me is a woman who is strong self-worth. She's confident, she has integrity, she prioritizes, her health. She prioritizes even herself, how she looks and everything like that. She knows how to set boundaries. And yeah, so that's what I think. So it's the combination of her mindset, her personality, and how she sees herself in terms of her standard. And I know, Adam, I'm sure you guys know what you look for when you're talking about I value women. So this is me explaining. So what do you think I value women is to you?
Well, a high value woman, you kind of know when you look at them. And there's a lot of things you kind of pick up. But the general gist of it is a high value woman is a woman that's very desirable to a man.
Hmm.
And it's not that they're just desirable to every man, but they're able to pull a very high quality man specifically. They're not just, yes, there's a lot of men that are after them, but they are specifically being sought after by men that are high quality.
Hmm.
And they themselves understand this and they understand their own self worth. And so they actually play a lot of defense when it comes to men and they weed out the men that aren't as high quality and specifically are looking for a strata of men.
Okay, so that's really interesting because I see that you explain in terms of what she looks for in a man. So for you, like when you see a woman, like what stands out to you to say, oh, she's high value? Like when she walks into the room, So like what stands out for you?
A lot. So when I go into a room and I see a woman, I can tell she's high status or not, or a high valued woman. There's many things that I'm looking for. The first one is general appearance. They
Mm-hmm.
look put together. They don't look like things have just been thrown together, all wish-washy. They don't look overdressed. They kind of look natural in how all their pieces just come together, whether it's a dress, a necklace, a handbag, it all just flows and looks almost effortless.
Mm.
And there's a fine line I usually find when it comes to dress where it's you're looking effortless and then you're putting too much effort into it and people can tell the difference. And with a high status woman or high valued woman, it looks effortless. It looks very natural and comfortable for her. But not only that, she's very intelligent. I can always tell when she's intelligent because she has a very large vocabulary or lexicon. She is able to express herself and communicate in a way that I can hear and understand because she's also not thinking about herself. She's thinking about me as the individual.
Mm.
So she's able to get out of her own head and think about, for example, how I'm feeling and how maybe our meeting fits not only between us, but in a group context or societal context. And it shows because when I talk with a high value woman, I don't feel uncomfortable. She leads with curiosity. She's very interested. She laughs. She makes the conversation flow. I don't feel out of place. I don't feel awkward. It's fun. She may be flirty. And it's like, oh, this is a woman I want to spend time with. She's interesting. She has a lot to offer. And she's thinking about me, not just herself.
I love
What are your
that.
thoughts?
I love that. I actually love the way you talked about the way she looks and you talked about the intelligence, actually, right? Because then as you get to know her more, then you get to know different aspects of her. But like the question was when she walked in, what draws you to her to say, oh, she's high value? I think, yeah. So for me, like with the dressing, like you said, like how she looks, it doesn't have to be expensive. It's just how she puts it together. Like she's wearing the clothes, right? I used to say she's classy. So a classy woman, she is not just about, she could be a nice suit, but she's not revealing. She's not trying to reveal anything. She knows she's a full package, so she can just walk well dressed. She's and I think when people say, "Oh, the guy," I keep getting a lot of guys that use me. I tend to ask sometimes, check how you're dressed. Like, how do you come into like you wear all the skimpy and everything? There are different occasion for different outfits, right? But most of the time, how do you actually look? Like you said, it's not how you overdressed, but it's how effortless it looks like. It looks. So we had an event, and there was this lady that walked in, and as soon as she walked in, it's just that shift in terms of the look. People just kind of this is the respect she gets even just from walking in. She was not wearing too much, just a nice jeans, but it was all fitted, like it fits her body. Like you know what I'm saying? And that's why like I value one comes with self-awareness. You know what looks good on you. And so she wore this jeans and a nice top that actually fits her body very well. It wasn't tight, it wasn't revealing in any way, but it fits her body and nice jewelry. It was good. So that's the thing. That was the first, kind of like appearance. So like when she walked in, the energy, right? But then when she started talking, so it was like people would say like we did this scorecard, and what I would say is like, oh, she is intelligent. So that even made her more attractive. Like she is intelligent. So I'm very particular about look, how you carry, because there's something about the way you dress and how it kind of what for me it's confidence, right? Like the way I look for an interview, I'm going for an interview, I tend to dress well, and that helps me with my confidence, even with the way I work. And so yeah, I agree with that. Intelligence is very important as well, because I've seen women that are well dressed, well put together, and they're so rude. Like they feel like they just use different words. They kind of come intimidating, right? And they feel like I have to be that bossy vibe lady. But it's more like she's gentle, she's very understanding, she's accommodating, right? Like that is I value, right? That's like she doesn't need to be too loud in a room, and she knows who she is, and she doesn't need to fight for attention or anything like that. And yeah, I do. Yeah, so that's what I can add to that, what you said, but that kind of intelligence and look is good.
Well, and you're absolutely right because there's that almost decorum, societal decorum that they understand. And it comes across in their dress. For
Mm.
example, a lot of women want to look sexy. And to be honest, they kind of look like prostitutes. They
Yeah.
wear very low top. They
Mhm.
wear way too much makeup. Their eyelashes are way too thick. They have long nails. It's like, you're not classy.
That's not classy. Yeah.
Like you look like a woman of the night, which is fair enough. If that's what you like, who am I to judge? However, men will look at you as that way.
Exactly.
And so I typically find a lot of women that are high value, they always have the high top. They
Yes.
have they do not have the super short skirt. They wear very clothing that is form fitting. Like they're aware of their body and they dress to their body shape. And typically I see a lot of these women, they work out. They take pride in their body. They build up that discipline. And I've also seen women that don't work out at all, but then they're still aware of their body and they
Yes.
dress for their body. And for example, I saw one woman and she was wearing clothes that were way too small. and it didn't look classy, which is so frustrating because you're sitting there going, if just if we could get you to dress just a little bit better,
Yeah.
all eyes would be on you.
That's it, and that's the thing. And what people don't know is when you dress flirty, like you're exposing different your body parts and everything. Yes, you get the attention, but what kind of attention? What is the quality of the attention that you're getting? Sometimes for the high value woman, because she kind of with her look, she's already filtered few people. Like a guy would know she's not in my league, so she's able to. She might get less attention, but more quality. Yeah, so I remember going to a church and years ago, and I saw these two ladies. They're on the big side, but let me tell you, they were so like attractive. Why? They wear clothes that look so good on them that even if for a skinny person, you would look at them like, oh my God, they look beautiful. They were not exposing anything, but they wore these nice dresses that fit their body so perfectly. And I was like, wow, and that is how to dress, you know. And I think the struggle is that some people are feeling to just accept their body. Like, okay, they're just kind of living in denial that okay, I still want to fit into size 8 and I'm size 10 now, so they struggle. And yeah, so an high value woman, even regardless of her size, she knows it's a like size, anyone body size can change, you know, and she knows that okay, this is where I am right now, so I have to embrace it and I have to dress for it. And when I go smaller, yeah, I adjust to it, right? So yeah, and the way she
Well,
smells too, right?
yeah, like again, is that feeling that I can be at ease with her. I can just talk with her and not be judged. And she just smiles and it lights up the room. As opposed to that awkward smile where you say something, and you're like, oh, you're judging me with that smile, aren't you?
Yeah, I know, right? And she's humble. Regardless of her status, she's humble and she understands that, you know, I feel like situations like I could see someone in a grocery store today, but that's that time. The next year I could see her somewhere else. So it's like the understanding of okay, I used to be. It's just like me say going to a grocery store. I used to be in this position. So why can't I be? I need to be kind. I need to be more patient, more understanding because but a woman that is some women or some men will be like they are not mean, right? Like oh, you know, I used to be in that position and they treated me so bad, so I need to treat this person so bad too. See the different mindset, right? And that is more like how you can differentiate the quality or character of people. So now you value women. She's not perfect. I was like say that she's not perfect. She's still figuring out things, but she still carries herself with grace, regardless. Even in
But
that.
that's the thing. High value women lean into the imperfection
Yes.
and they acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And they'll come out and they'll say, thank you so much for telling me this is something that I struggle with. And I'm
Mhm.
sorry that this happened. They'll apologize. They'll own up to their mistakes and
Yeah.
they'll work with you
Yeah.
because it's not about blame. It's not about hurting people. It's about coming together because they have the confidence. They understand what they bring to the table. They understand what their partner brings to the table. Because at the end of the day, and just like you were saying, these women are looking for a high valued man. They understand their worth and they're dressing to attract that man.
Yeah.
They don't want just anybody. They're looking for a very specific man, which is always funny because when I work with many women on dating and we start talking about who are you looking for, the question I ask is, okay, what is that man looking for in a woman? And that's
The
what these high
opposite.
value women are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was talking to a lady over the weekend and she talked about like, you know, she's this TikTok woman who always preach about, you know, like there's a rich guy is making so much money, 6 figures, 7 figures and all. And I said, you know, she has her own fan base and I'm sure you know most of them are still very poor and say I see her as someone that is anyway. I'm not going to judge her, but the point is I say it gets to a point as a woman how and when you focus so much, you've really worked on yourself and you've educated yourself, you've really done the work on yourself, you will not just attract rubbish. You will be okay. So I give the girl an example. For example, look at the way you dress. You walked in and you're looking very fabulous, right? Like now, who will be drawn to you? Who will be drawn to you? Now, you've educated yourself to some point, or maybe you mingle with the kind of event that you attend. For example, who are the people in that event? Those are people that maybe they're already accomplished, or they've done some work, they're high executives and stuff. So you are positioning yourself even as an high value woman. You can be an high value woman and go to the club every weekend. Yeah, so it's like, who are your friends? Who are you mingling with on a regular? What are you feeding your mind on social media and stuff like that? The kind of movies, the kind of places that you go. So you get there's a lot of things that you have to weed out, and you're going to be it's lonely because you are going to turn down a lot of offers, like, oh, let's do this, let's go here. I went to a party and I saw people smoking weeds and stuff. I'm like, all right. For me it was weird, but for them it was like normal, right? And so that's what I'm talking about, the people that you mingle with, the space that the space that you really go into, right? So those are the things that would actually influence you, because you may not be high value woman now, or maybe you may just be struggling, but you can actually get yourself there, because nobody's born you know in a particular way. So it takes the like, what do you think, like, in terms of like the kind of people or community that you know how that can influence you in terms of high value
What
versus.
when it comes to moving up in the world, one of the things that I always encourage is to curate your social circle, because whoever your social circle is, you are going to become that person in 5 years.
Yeah.
If everyone's smoking cigars, you're going to smoke a cigar.
It's a matter of
If
time.
yeah, if everyone's going to university to get a degree, you're going to get a degree. If everyone's starting their own business, you're going to start your own business. That's how it works. And so because that's how it works, if you want to be a high status woman, you need to curate who you're hanging out with and understand this person might be toxic. This person might be holding me back, and naturally just kindly drift away from them to open up your that space for somebody that will feed into you, that will help pull you to that next level. Because typically, what I see a lot of is women, they listen to other women that are, I guess, quote unquote, low value, and they talk about how trash men are and how awful they are and how you shouldn't trust them. A high value woman doesn't understand that. What they think is, yes, there are bad men out there, but there are also good men out there, and I'm
But
looking for the good ones.
yeah, exactly. I think I mean, someone was telling me that she said, okay, so I'm trying to figure out how I can detach. Like, I do not want to go into a relationship, but I don't want to be too attached, because I fear if that relationship doesn't work, then I will struggle to move on. And I'm like, see, I feel like sometimes your mindset needs to go through some reboots or some rework. I believe that when you are into anything, be it business, be it job, be it relationship, I feel like you should experience it to the fullness. And experiencing relationship to the fullness is giving everything, which means so that at the end of the day, you don't have a regret. You don't regret. Like, give it love fully, love freely, and everything. And if it doesn't work, nothing is forever. Like relationship, we all die. We all so it's gonna end. It's gonna end. It could be true death do you part, it could be sickness, it could be anything, but it could be a breakup, like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, maybe till death. But I have the full experience, but at the same time be wise, right? But I don't see why you want to be calculating or be very, like, you're limiting yourself from experiencing love in fullness. But you have to understand that breakup would hurt, and it take the timing for it is different. It could take you, some people, it could take them 1 year, 2 years, and but is the outlook around, it's like, okay, it's this, what did I get from it, versus I hate this guy, he did this to me. Are you accountable to, like, what role did you play, what role did you play in attracting a toxic guy. So that may could be from a angle. It could be from you too. Like there must be something that attracted him to you. It might be something that you also contributed to the relationship not working. So it's how can you look inward? And so I'm like, so I thought that, you know what, I'm not gonna tell you to out the strategy on how to love someone and easily detach. I'm going just gonna tell you to experience love in the fullness, experience love fully, and have no regrets. So that when it doesn't work, you know, "Oh, you know what? While I was there, I enjoyed myself. We had fun. But now I know what I want, and now I can move on and cry and cry, seek people to help you in the process or whatever. Go for therapy, but don't deny yourself the beauty or the feeling of actually being loved, right? So, what do you think about that? Like,
Well, and that's the thing. They go into the relationship thinking it's going to be a success. This
yeah,
will be a success. If a woman's going in, and even if a man's going into a relationship and they're thinking to themselves, what if this doesn't work out? It's like, well, it won't work out. I'm sorry. Like, if you're already thinking that and you haven't even started the relationship, it's just not going to work.
that's not
But a
gonna.
high value woman goes in there understanding that it will work out and she's going to do everything within her power to make this work. And
Mm-hmm.
then when it doesn't work, she sits there and she thinks, okay, why did this not work? What part did I have to play in this?
Yeah.
What lessons do I have to learn to help me in my next relationship? Because I see a lot of people that think at a very low level, and I can always tell they're thinking at a low level because they say the other person's to blame, they're at fault. It's like, well, no, they were only ever 50% of the problem. You were the other 50%.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree. Yeah, I love that. And I think there's also a toxic side of I value women. On like I went on TikTok today and there's a lot of content around I value women. Now I think people see I value women as I was on TikTok like and it's all about you have to be making six figures too. You have to be and I'm like, oh, God, there are women, for example, there are women that maybe they could just work in a grocery store and the way they carry themselves, the way they look, their intelligence, right? Because I won't assume that everybody working in a grocery store are low. They don't have they're not intelligent because sometimes it's situations that led them there. Some people are immigrants, some people are just trying to also maybe that's a second job. And but she could be working in a grocery store, she could dress well, smell nice, study like she's working on herself, she's taking care of her body, she is also positioning herself correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like she's a friendship, a community, are solid. And so it is not, and an I value man is not also um because you could have a man that makes seven figure, but is terrible with finance, is terrible with his money. But you could have a guy that makes maybe 100K, 80K, but is so good with money and is generous and it can take care of you, it can make you feel great. It's beyond not just the so I felt like, wow, what about a woman that is making 50K or 60K? We should think she's not value, she's not a high value woman because she makes that. So the thing is, it's not just based on like the money status to say, oh, yeah, I value versus no. I think that's the misunderstanding in that, you know.
Well, that's the funny thing. When it comes to men, men do not care how much money the woman makes.
Exactly.
When they look at a high status woman, they actually don't care what her degrees are, her masters are, how much money she pulls in. That is not the question that they're asking. They genuinely don't care. The question that they're going to ask is she going to make my life peaceful or not? If the answer is no, it doesn't matter the money, it doesn't matter the education, it doesn't matter the status in society, you're not worth it.
Yeah, and I was watching that live and I was like, oh my gosh, look at what she's saying. And then I felt like, and I see money as for a woman, for example, why like back in Africa where normally the culture is a bit different, where the man will provide and the woman takes care of the home. She makes sure the home is good, the man could travel, come back, the kids are fine. He doesn't have to worry. He's just focusing on that. So that's the culture. and and she's still high value, right? Because she's taking a responsibility seriously, and she's, she's available for the kids, that she's taking care of herself as well. Why she's doing that? But at the same time, that is not reducing her. She's not less of a woman because she doesn't have. So the reason why then women then, that was past, that was old days, it's still happening, but now decided to go into the career force because, oh, they want to now be something, right? They want to be something outside of just being a wife or being a mother. Now she wants to be, a woman, a career woman, and she wants to be independent. So there are situations where the man would die, for example, or maybe, untimely death or anything, or things, different situations like that, and she is not able to carry on. And that is why a lot of women are advising women, you know what, why, even if you're a full housewife, make sure you have something, a trade or something that you're doing, a skill that you can actually use to make money. And that is why, so women are basically working to be able to like sustain their home in case the man is not able to or is down, or so that's the idea behind it. It doesn't guarantee that, okay, because you're a girl now making 6 figures, 7 figures makes you more attractive compared to a woman that isn't. So is that I see that toxic, um you know toxic, I value definition online a lot, and I'm like, no, it's not. It's just like, even if you're making 50K, you're making 70K, but at least you're able to help your husband, you're able to support the home, and make his life great, and it makes your life better, and you guys are able to grow and build empires if possible together. So, and character to go with it, right? Like that's the inward work is more important than, because it shows outside if you're working inwardly, right? But now it's more like makeup and everything than the inside work. What do you think?
Well, it's always interesting. So to kind of come back a little bit around that fear, the fear of losing your mate has always been very prevalent for women, and
Yeah.
that's why death insurance was a thing. Men die sooner than women, and there's always this issue of like, hey, do you have an RSP? Because your husband's not going to be around all the time, and you need some source of stable income. Unfortunately, I see a lot of toxicity with that, where it's gone a little bit too far, where it goes, my money is my money and your money is my money. And we're not a partnership because I need an escape plan in case this falls apart. Which, when I look at a very high value woman, what they say is, no, 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 this is a partnership. This is our money. We are working together. And they trust their partner to have their best interests at heart. And hopefully they vetted him or her enough that, God forbid, nothing bad happens. Not always the case, though. But it's that important thing of understanding that you're in a partnership. You're working together. It's you and them versus the world. But if you think immediately, oh, I have to have an escape route, it's not going to work.
Yeah, it's not going to work. And the thing is, reality is that, you could have the best intention, about your marriage, about your relationship, but the truth is, it never happen. It may not happen like that, and that's the reality. That's life, right? But you're not scared to start again, even if that is the case, right? But also, as an high value woman, you are also ensuring that, hopefully you have a partner that is transparent and open, so that you guys are working together, not against each other. So the issue here is like what you mentioned about, everybody's working for them. They're not working together. It's like she's trying to be this great thing, and he's trying to be that great thing, and they're, it's just, there's a difference. It's just the division in a way. It's not like is just looking out for themselves. The guy is scared that she could divorce him. She is scared that she could find somebody else, and you know that's crazy. And it's crazy because most of the content online too is all about that, and it's a shame. But the point is, as a high value man, is that you are not still you still experience crazy things in life, regardless of how much effort you put into choosing a spouse. But when that happens, what next? It's wise enough to also have, you're not just confused when something happens. There's it's like in the, like, I don't know, I'm Christian, so like in the Bible, that when there's prophecy about famine, there's always that, okay, now work towards it, work towards that, work towards the, when the famine comes, you are ready. So regardless, I value my, you want to make sure that your finances too are intact, which which your spouse is also aware of. You can have family, I family fund, like family accounts that you guys have. You also have access to your, I believe in having a joint account, and also having the luxury to have your own personal account too. But it's a transparent thing where I want to get flour for my man, and I don't want it to be like I'm taking. It's my. I want to be happy, and I want to feel proud that it's the money that I will, like my savings. I'm buying that gift to him. I want to surprise him, take him out on a nice trip. Yeah, so but my man knows how much of my money goes into my savings and how much of my money goes into our savings, and we're basically working together, stuff like that, right? So that's my own. But regardless, we still have to plan for the raining days so that we're not like stuck when it's like last minute or we're struggling. But we have to still think that, okay, reality is we're all going to die one day, but we're not going to stop living because of that, right? But we have to now plan for our pension when we get old. We have to make sure we exercise today so we're not struggling when we're older. So those are the things that we plan for, right?
But a high value woman will always communicate that,
Yes,
and
that's
they'll
us.
work with their partner.
Yeah.
I remember a very heartbreaking story. This one actually hurt me deeply. I had a friend who was married to a woman, and he always felt poor. He always felt very, very, very poor. And then one day, his wife ended up divorcing him.
Hmm.
Turns out what she was doing was she was siphoning off about 50% to 60% of his paycheck per month into the joint account, into her own account, a private
Really?
account. And what ended up happening is he felt poor because he was not receiving his full paycheck, and he trusted her implicitly. And then when she left, she took all that money. It was brutal what happened in the divorce, and he was devastated, absolutely devastated, because he's like, I trusted this woman, I cared for this woman, I wished for the best for her, and I felt like I got stolen from. I was like, I think you did.
That's sad though. That's unfortunate, and unfortunately, that's the reality for some people. But like I said, that's what differentiates you, right? Like high value men, high value women. How are you guys working together? Are you guys having that conversation? Transparency is key. Um, so, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you've given everything possible to make sure that, okay, I've done the best, and you can actually live without feeling guilty. And I believe that a high value woman is not scared to start over. She knows she has what it takes to start over. She knows that, okay, I have the skills, I've taken the time to work on myself, I've taken the time to network, I have the connections that wouldn't really be, I won't start from the scratch really, but I have all these things I've already prepared. So okay, if it doesn't work out, okay, I can move to a new place and I can make something work from there. Right. So the fear is not like, they don't really, the fear is not like a factor to limiting, or like it's a, okay, okay, now what next, like, okay, what can I do, or how can I make the best of this situation, right? Yeah.
Well, in Dune, they always say fear is the mind killer.
Mm,
And when I look at a high confident or a high value woman, they are very confident in themselves. They understand their abilities. They understand how to get from point A to point B. And I remember one woman, she was devastated after one of her relationships. And I was talking with her, and she said, well, it sucks, but I've been here before, and I know how to get to where I want to go. All I
yeah.
have to do is put the legwork in. And
Yeah.
that's all I'm going to do. It's like, yes, yes, like you got it. You see it. And she's not letting fear cloud her judgment or steer her off course.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's true. That's a good encouragement for people. And I think what people don't mention is, yes, an high value woman could actually attract the wrong spouse and or a low value, because a lot of people, I've seen men that would pretend to be high value men because yeah, they make the income, and the income basically just put them in that position or that level already, and you feel like, oh my god, he's a CEO, or he owns a successful business, and so he's high value. He could take you to a classy restaurant, all that, but he's not really done the work. And then yeah, as an high value woman, you could attract people like that, but the difference is when it's time to leave, because you know your value, and you know what is right because you've done the work to get to the point where you are, and you know how to differentiate that this is not normal, and I can leave and be okay and be and move on, compared to staying there knowing that it's not right for you, suffering in a toxic relationship because you feel like if I leave him I may not find someone else. So that's, what do you think about that, like,
Well,
women?
it's very true because a high value woman usually is quite socially adept. They move through social circles with ease, and they're very good at reading people. They understand that there are core values, and they understand what their core values are, and they look for that in their partner. And because they understand social cues and kind of what they're looking for, but also what to look for in their partner, they can understand that, hey, there are some men out there that make a lot of money, but they're not a high valued man, because there's money is a very small aspect of what makes a good partner. And they understand this. And so that's why they start vetting for men that are quote unquote high value themselves. And they are going to get approached. Like, I'm gonna level with you. When you look at the statistics, I think the odds are only 5 to 10% of men actually approach women, which means that 90% of men are not approaching women. Full stop.
Crazy,
Yeah. And when you look at that 10% are usually not the high status, high value men. They're just not. And so if you're being approached by these men that are lower status, they're going to try to sway you. And you may be swayed because you think to yourself, "Oh, out of all the men that have approached me, this man is clearly the best of the best." Like, or you're only seeing a very small percentage of the population, and you're not getting into the proper social circles.
Hmm. So you say something about 5 to 10% of men are actually pursuing, right? Is that what if I'm correct?
Well, approaching.
Approaching. So what are the other percentage doing? Are they just sitting around? So, because I grew up where men would go find and pursue, and they'll do all everything possible to make sure that they secure this woman, And unfortunately, it's different now. Like things are changing. If that number is pretty low, I'm wondering
Very low.
what are the, what are the, you know, because I feel like a man pursues, right, and that's high value to me because that's what is it goes after what it wants, right? But
So
it depends, right?
unfortunately, the times are changing. I always say to my clients, you need to adapt or die at this point. Um, Men are not approaching the way they used to anymore, and a lot of women will attest to this. They'll say, I sat at the bar and nobody came to talk to me," or "I was at the gym working out and I needed help and nobody looked at me or even came to help me out." It's like, right, because this is what's happening. And so what I've noticed is many high value women, they are adapting. They understand the social winds have changed, and they are beginning to approach men that they see as valuable, and they are starting the interactions now, which I'm always applauding for women. I'm like, yes, please go out there and start approaching, because men are just not approaching these days.
It's interesting because I see it differently. Why? Because from a woman's standpoint, and basically um there's a lot of times when the woman so like that class, there are different ways you can talk to a man. Like you do not have to come too forward, but as it could be like, hey, it's just a conversation in such a way that he would just look at you and notice you, and he would pursue you. Not that you are the one asking for, oh, let me take you out on a date, or you are the one being pushy. Because the thing about that is, one, I believe that part of the fact I value women is she knows our worth, and she knows worth. She understands the role a man plays versus the role she plays. She's a feminine woman. She's soft, and the man is. There are some things that a man should do versus a woman should do, but she's not limited to that still. And she understands that, okay, I'm not going to propose to a guy, for example. That's not my role to play. But there's a way you go around it where you could, kind of say, oh, wow, nice shirts. There's a way you go around a classy way that it will look at you. And guys like compliments. It will look at you and be like, wow, okay, thanks. My name is Joshua, and you are, not coming and flirting, like obviously like throw yourself on him and ask for a date, and that's classless to me. So I would say it's more like, yeah, go, you see someone at a restaurant, it's classy, you go in a classy way, you compliment or whatever, but don't put yourself in a position where you are now pursuing the man, because it is the it's not at the end of the day, you're just going to be, for women, most of women that do that, they're always the one to test him first. They're always the one to say, hey, I'm here, I'm this, look at me, this. From my culture, a man, the pride comes from, I worked for this at some point, like, and she is just the lady, and she's approachable, which means she is open minded and she smiles. The man is not. She walks to her and say, "Hey, Joy, how are you?" And she smiles, not frown. She's very welcoming, and yeah. So that's what I see with a lot of women, the way they look at the pursue versus being pursued, right? But I do understand that that's the reality right now. It's crazy.
Well, and this is where that's that external work. So there's always two types of work that has to work if you want a relationship. There's the internal work, and then there's the external work. And the external work for women is flirting and communicating that they're available and that they're interested in. And I know a lot of women I chit chat with, they say, "Oh, I'm such an amazing flirt, but men are so dense." Like, if
Like,
men do not understand that you're interested in them, you're a bad flirt. And so a very high valued woman, again, gets out of her head, starts thinking about the man. Okay, how do I communicate to him that I'm interested, that I want him to pursue me? How do I make myself available for him to approach me if he's willing to approach me? And if he's not, how do I put myself in a position to communicate, approach, and talk to me? And that could
mm,
be as simple as he's sitting down working on his laptop and you sit opposite him, and then you just might make a comment, something along the lines of, "Oh, my work, this is just so dumb." And it's an open line, and see what he does. Does he look at you? Look back at him. Flirt a little bit. See what he says. And it's just inviting that communication, as opposed to, and I see this a lot where it's like, I looked at him. Like, okay, he didn't come over and talk to me. Yeah, because you just looked at him. That's not enough communication for to signal to him that you are interested, because in today's world, it could be very dangerous for a man just to approach you if you just looked at him. He doesn't understand the intention behind that look. Are you looking at him because you're attracted to him? Are you looking at him because he has something on his face? Are you looking at him because you're spacing out? He doesn't know.
mhm. Yeah, I do agree. I remember a while ago, years ago actually, when I was working at the grocery store, and then this guy walked in, and I told him, frankly, not that I just said, you know what, oh, I love your hair, I like you, that's really lovely, because he took his, like, it was really nice. And I said, and it was like, guys like compliments. And he was like, oh my God, lovely, thank you. And he said, oh, yeah, what's your name? And oh, I have my number. That's easy. So if it is, it's that. Now it's like men love compliments. So it's like, oh, what are you doing? Maybe you, like you said, the example you gave where you go to the restaurant and it's sitting, you sit in front of it, like, what are you doing? What are you working on? As simple as that. You are not you also give him the space to want to. Because the thing is, you may like him and he may not like you. He may not find you attractive. So that way you can actually gauge, if okay, let's continue, but because you do not want to also force it. You want to be classy around about it. And if it could be someone that maybe is not even interested talking to you. You understand that and you do what you need to do and move. But it's the making sure that it doesn't look like you are the one throwing yourself on him. So there's the classiness in how you flirt. Like a woman, like you're looking beautiful already, and there's a way you look, facial expression, the way you speak softly, you're open, you're smiling, you're already inviting. So if you would find it easy to talk to you and to continue to want to know you better. It's not that when it's trying to talk to you, you're not asking random questions. What do you do? How much do you make? That's what some people do, and then they wonder why the man is not responding. Maybe you're dressed in a particular way. Maybe, there's so many factors. And sometimes it's good to look inwardly like, okay, why is it that every time I go to this place or I do this, I'm not getting the result I want to? What do I need to do differently?
Well, it's funny you say that because I had a client talking to me and he was saying all these women, all they want is my money. That's all they're interested in. All they want to know is how much I make, what my
Mhm.
job is to determine my salary income. They want to know where I go on vacation to determine, do I have money to go on vacation? They want to know if I have a house, a car. They're just gold diggers, Adam. I was like, yeah, they are. And the sad part is, if you will be classified as a low quality woman if you're going after material wealth with a man, especially a high valued man. If he knows that you're going after his wealth, he's he's not going to look kindly on you.
Yeah.
He'll look at you as a short-term relationship, absolutely, but not somebody of any substance or quality.
I do agree, because they get that all the time. They get a lot of women coming to them just because of their money, so they want something different. So it's like maybe talking about a nice book that you read, something that is different from maybe you could, and maybe eventually you guys have this nice conversation outside of what do you do some point, only if it's just happens to just maybe he's working on a project like, oh, I am and it just mentions it by himself without you actually asking. You might even get to the second day before you even find out what it does. But like the fact that you're interested in something beyond those things means that you're deeper, means that you're intelligent. It means that because asking about what you do, where do you like to travel? Those are shallow conversations that they tend to get everything. I'm telling you, there's a lot of women out there, even men. For me, when I was younger, I could sit with somebody for 5 minutes and I could know if they are now we don't use the term I value them, but I could know if they are responsible or not. I don't use the word because if I sit with a guy and the thing he's saying is, "Oh, last night I went clubbing and these girls," I'm like, shallow. I tell you, but when I sit with you and the conversations are like solid, I'm like, good. That's the one I want to talk to, right? So the same with women, like there some women we sit with, and all they say is garbage. Oh, that guy, and then that okay, this is probably a short term thing, or you know. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting. So I remember talking with a woman, and I to get help her get out of her own head, I said, "What is your competition doing?" And she had to stop and think about it. And she goes, "Oh, they're asking about the cars. They're going after these guys. This is what they're doing to try to attract their male." I'm like, "Cool." Knowing that, what do you need to do to stand out? Because these high quality men have women throwing themselves at
Yeah.
them. In fact, those men typically aren't pursuing women, they're doing defense because they have too much attention.
You trained.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like you look at Henry Cavill, that man has women that line up around the block that want to be with him.
Games and
His job is actually to say no.
yeah.
And so, in order to catch a man of that quality, you have to think, okay, what would make me unique and stand out? Which is, again, weirdly enough, if you just lead with curiosity and friendliness and openness and wanting to genuinely know the other person, you're immediately ahead of your competition. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like just saying you're looking to attract high quality guy. Now it goes to, it's just like you're trying to apply for a job and you need to learn about, not just, you're not only looking at how you want to sell yourself, like this is the skills that I have, knowledge, but you also want to let them know that okay, I've also done the research enough to know much about your company, the awards, these, social initiatives and all those things. So for a man too, if you say, oh, I want to attract, let's say the single version of Elon Musk, for example. So what does it do? What is he interested in? Where does it go to? So there's a lot of things you want to know about the person. So when you find yourself in that space, what are you guys going to talk about? What are you going to say? You know, yeah, that will stand out than just throwing your body, throwing yourself, and but what kind of what you want to say something that is going to go back home and think about. Is going to, even if there's 20 women in the room, is going to remember the conversation you guys had. Not because it's shallow, but because it's deep. Because it made him think that, oh wow, so that's the thing. And that's what will make you stand out. It could also be that maybe everybody's wearing all these flirty clothes, but you there's something about a woman that walks in elegantly, classy. I'm telling you, like that is on its own says a lot without even her opening her mouth.
Well, they are flirty. They are elegant. And there's a fabulous video by Matthew Hussey, who there's a woman and he forgot her name. And the woman said, "Oh, you forgot my name? Really?" And an elegant woman would say, "Oh, you forgot my name? Well, how are you going to make it up to me?" And that's a far better interaction because as the man, if you're coming across as confrontational, you're going to leave a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah,
Because weirdly, when you're with somebody, nobody cares about what you said. They care about how you made them feel.
yeah.
And if they felt that they need to defend themselves from you, it's not going anywhere.
That's really stressful. Because like the goal is like mostly like I just want peace. So that's already stressing them already because they're kind of like thinking before they speak or before they act around you, and that's not inviting. Yeah, so that's interesting. And I know what I get a lot is the standard of high value women is high. And some people tend to see it as unrealistic. So, like, what do you think about that? Like, an high value woman, she's taking the time to work on herself and taking herself up to a particular standard. And that's why she's trying to attract that. So, for some people, it's like, the heck, like, that's too much. I don't want this. I don't want. What do you think about that?
Well, the truth is, yeah, it is hard. Like, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And so I always make the argument, though, absolutely, not everyone can be a high valued person. It's just how it goes. Not everyone's going to be a millionaire. You could definitely try. I would encourage you to try if that's your dream. But the work required to get to that standard is tremendous. And for example, if you want to be a high valued woman, the questions I start asking are, do you work out? Do you take care of your body? What is your social circle looking like? What societies or social circles are you floating in? Do you know how to have a conversation? Do you know how to lead from curiosity? Do you know how to get out of your own head? And these are hard and challenging questions, and not everybody can do it. A fabulous example of this is I often talk about levels of consciousness. And you can always tell when somebody is at a lower level of consciousness because they're thinking from I statements. For example, a girl is going out with her friends and she's wearing a very skimpy outfit. And her dad says, "You're not going out there in that outfit. That go upstairs and change." And she gets very upset. The
Mm.
first level of consciousness is, "Oh, I want to go out and I want to have fun." And my dad's just, he's he's out there putting a stamp down on me. He's keeping me from having fun. A higher level of consciousness is thinking, oh, my dad is worried about me. The next level above that is, my dad is worried about me because he's thinking about other boys and how they are going to perceive me. And then the one above that is, my dad is thinking about these boys and how they're perceiving me because those boys are going to have thoughts that they may act upon. And that's a very hard level to kind of get to, because you have to be able to expand your mind, and it's not easy. Like, none of this stuff is easy. You can do it with the work, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do agree with that. And I think that's why when you've taken the time to do the work, you want to ensure that you are attracting someone that is either would actually challenge you to be better, but not reduce you. Or, so yeah. And for example, if you're working out like to maintain a good body weight or a good a body goal, and you want to be very intentional about, okay, I want to make sure that my partner is also health conscious and loves fitness. He loves to take care of himself, his body, and his, what he eats and stuff like that. So if you go and attract a guy that doesn't really care about himself, is always eating junk food, there is higher chance that you're going to one day go off track and find yourself in the weight that you do not like. So it's the same thing as I have taken the time to build myself up, my career, my body, my community. Now I want to ensure that I find someone that aligns with that. And to find someone that aligns with that, there are not going to be many. There are not going to be many. So you have to filter out a lot of guys to get to that point. And that's why I say it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top. Like, if you want to be loved by everybody, popular, it's common, but if you have to be at the standard that you are proud of tomorrow, or based on the fact that you've taken the time to put the work, it's lonely.
Well, and that's
Yes.
the thing people forget. If you want to become a high value woman, absolutely, we can do it. It's going to be at least a year to 2 years if you haven't even started your journey to get to that point. However, once you're at that point, you're not looking at the 99 percentage of men at that point. You're looking at the 1%.
Yeah.
And it can be rather lonely. It can be rather devastating for these women, which is why sometimes there's the conversation that has to happen with these women of, okay, if these men aren't interested in you, how do you find a man that holds the potential to be what you want? Because again, you're just filtering out so many men.
I think I think at that point in time, and that's why you see a lot of maybe ladies. I feel like I've seen a lot of successful women that they come out, that people see them as these high value women, finding it difficult to date, or they're finding relationship is actually difficult for them. And for most of them, they tend to lower their stand, like their how do I say it, their criteria when it comes to men. So now it depends on what is important to you at that time. Maybe now you've taken the time to make the money, the education, the connection, and everything. By that point in time, because you have the resources enough to take care of your home, regardless of wherever you want to live or what kind of lifestyle you know, you want, they might just say, okay, you know what, I just want a man that is available, a man that is emotionally available, a man that is kind, a man that is has good family upbringing, is family focused, but it may not make as much money, it may not have as much connection that I do have, it may not have this, that, but what he has is good enough for me, right? And so that's the thing. And it comes to a point where you have to ask yourself, okay, so what is the most important value, core values that I want and that I can work with, even if it doesn't have this, that. Because the fact is, even some men are scared of high value women. A lot of men. So that the options is just very few options for you. So now ask yourself, like, is it a man that's ambitious, which we can still work together and it can be great tomorrow or even greater than me if possible, right? So that's like you said, you have to look at that potential aspect if you want to.
Well, and there's two things to kind of add on to that. The first one that I see a lot of is many women believe themselves to be high value, but the men do not see them as high value. And it's because there's a mismatch where they pursue things that believe that would make them high value to men, but the men are looking for other qualities. And so this is why when I've worked with CEOs or executives, they sit there and they say, I have all the money, I have all the accolades, I have all that. And it's like, right, but the men aren't vetting for that. And so you feel high value, but the men don't think of you that way, which is that frustrating part. And then the second point is the idea that sometimes high value women don't understand what makes a high valued man.
Mm.
And they're pursuing things that are causing them misery and pain, for example, money, when the reality is like, why are you pursuing a man with money? You already make millions of dollars. You
Mm.
have security. What you should be looking for instead is values.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
should be looking at core values. You should be asking yourself, do I even like this man? If the answer is no, then why are we even entertaining him?
Hmm. Yeah, it's just like when you're trying to find your as a business person, you have to when you're looking to create a team. You're looking for people that complement each other, and I think that's relationship where, like you said, you already have all this. Then what do you need that is lacking right now in your life? Like what do you need? You need to bring someone into your life that will complement you. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same money, the same everything, but it would bring something that you do not have. It will add to your life, and in terms of whatever it is that you need from a man, um, and also I feel like when it comes to high value woman, you're being high value, you're becoming a high value woman for yourself. It's not intentionally because you are trying to you are it's okay, I want to be an high value woman because I want to attract men. You're taking care of your body for you. And if a man is supposed to add to your life, right? And that would attract the man into your life. Like it's not like you're doing it for somebody, because if you're doing it for somebody, when it leaves you, then you fall apart. And so that's the thing. So you may not a man may not see the value in you. You know your value. Some people would also see your value, but necessarily the man that you're with, because of the kind of man he is. Because there are a lot of men that are married to good women, but they don't see them as good women. They don't see the value that it's like they don't know what they have. Like they don't know, you don't know what you have until you lose it, right? So sometimes the partner that you're with may not see your value, even as a high value woman. And that tells you the quality of the man that you're attracting or that is with you. So that should not really make you, a man should not basically determine that. But then you knowing that, okay, you're high value for yourself. And what comes with that is other things like the man and the connections and all these other things comes from being that person. And the same with a man too. Um, that's why, and everyone should understand that you may actually be single and not actually have a man, like a husband. You may actually not be able to, because that's life. Sometimes not everybody is meant to marry or find that forever partner, and you have to understand that without this man in my life, am I still going to be okay? Am I still going to live a beautiful and wonderful life? Am I still able to be happy? So that's the thing I love people don't say. Because you are success, this person doesn't mean that you get everything that you ever wanted. It's just that sometimes you may, and sometimes you may not. So you have to be ready for whatever, right?
Well, and that's where that internal change has to come from
Yeah.
inside of you. You
Mm-hmm.
have to want that to be that successful, high value person. There is great power in spite. So, for example, and I'm guilty of this. I was in a relationship for 7 years and she broke up with me. And out of spite, I went to the gym and I got fit. And I was like, yeah, I'm sexy now. The problem is that's a very dangerous road because there's a lot of fallacies that come into play, as opposed to doing it for yourself and say, no, I want to look good for myself. And this is how I know I'll look good. And through that process derives confidence. While out of spite, sure, I look good, but I had insecurities because it didn't come from me. It came from a place of I wasn't good enough and I'm going to prove to my ex that I will be good enough.
Mm.
And so it's
Yeah.
that idea that it gotta come from inside.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to, because then if, let's say for example, you work out and you have these muscles and you like to wear shirtless, like to go shirtless because that, and if you don't get the compliment that you are doing it for, like you get the girls, you're still like struggling to get girls, you start feeling that self-hate, to us, that's anger inside of you. But if you understand that, okay, I'm working now because I want to be more health, I want to be healthier, I'm trying to work towards my old age, and there's actually more depth reason to why you want to do that, not necessarily because I want to work out because I want to have six pack and attract the fine boys, or that's superficial reasons to want to work out. So it has to be more depth. It has to be, why do you want a man, for example? Okay, you want a husband, why? I want a man that will take care of me. That's not a good reason to want a man. There should be more, like, okay, I want to create a family, I want to build an empire. There's a detailed things. I want a man that would be, there's more depth to why you want a man, because then when you get that man, then you value it, compared to, oh, I just want it for his money. So what about when the money is not there? What are you going to do? So it's the same thing, because that's like the value of, I'm working on myself because I want to be this. I want to, not because I want him to like me more. I want to be able to attract the successful men. Those men would come. It's just like the Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and every other thing will be added onto you. That kind of a thing, right?
And is that getting into why do you want a man? What is the point of him in your life? And it's not about just adding to your life, it's about building a life. What type of life do you even want to build with this guy? Do you want a family? Do you not want a family? Really thinking on it. And I know many high quality women that I've talked to, they already know. They sit
Yeah.
down and they're like, I'm looking for a man to start a family. He's going to be my one and only. I am successful and I'm okay if he's not successful because I will help him be successful. I will help elevate him because I know he is going to elevate me in turn. We are going to be a partnership together to build this amazing life. But it's not just my life, it's his life. And I want to find out his hopes and dreams. And I want to work together to create both, make it to essentially ensure they both come true. It's like,
Okay.
yeah,
To that, I want to ask the question, because I hear it's funny because it's on social media everywhere. They say, don't build a man, don't help him, even to the point of, oh, no, when you're dating a guy, don't even help him create his resume. Let him also by himself. Let him become that person, because when you keep doing those things for him, he's going to resent you. And most of the time, like growing up, you hear, oh, she suffered for him. She suffered. They were struggling when she met him, and she helped him. She struggled with him, everything like that. And at the end of the day, she now is successful, and now he started resenting her, and he dumped her to a more younger girl, or a more, even more low level girl, but anyway, to somebody else. And that you see on social media, like, don't ever build up a man, don't build him up, let him struggle for himself, let him build himself up, even though he's going to resent you. And trust me, when he resent you, you know is that all crazy? Like, that
that
is
is
really
crazy.
there online.
So, where that's coming from is these individuals are emasculating their men and they're not allowing their man to flourish. They're not polishing his shield. They're not supporting him. They're telling him.
Mm.
They're guiding him with a very heavy hand and telling him what he needs to do, how to be successful, being very judgmental, being very critical, because they see him as a piece of clay to be molded into the person that they want. And the issue with this is that long term it breeds unbelievable resentment with that man who says, I don't feel like I'm the provider. I don't feel like I'm a leader. I feel like I'm the whipping boy. And at the end of the day, I am now successful and I've been whipped for years. So I'm going to leave and go find somebody who truly does appreciate me for who I am.
Hmm.
That's what's happening.
That is interesting. Okay, so the thing is, I feel like for most of the time, women do not understand it, or maybe they're doing it the wrong way, or maybe, so they see like, oh, this is what they see. She suffered for him, she suffered with him, and he left. And they see that, oh, he's a wicked person because after all that she did. So now I want to ask you, what do you think is the right approach to making the man feel like a man, even when he's trying to become what he wants to be for the family, or when he's trying to become great and successful? How do you think a woman should come into his life and support him to make him realize her potential and to appreciate her rather than resent her?
Yeah, there's many ways to do it. Don't tell him what to do. Because if you want a man that leads, men don't want to be led. Especially those type of men. Typically, what I would encourage you to do is allow him to start moving in that direction and then start supporting him in that area. So, for example, you'd start talking about his dreams. Find out what his dream is. Maybe his dream is to start a business. You're like, oh, that's an amazing thing. I would love for you to start your own business. What type of business would you like to start? As opposed to, oh, let me tell you the businesses that could be successful.
Mm,
And we're standing with him and helping him guide his thoughts and decisions to an area that he's satisfied with, as opposed to areas that we're satisfied with.
mm,
And so, for example, if a woman was talking with me and they said, oh, you want to be a coach? Well, Adam, what you should be doing is A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. I'll be like, thanks, but no thanks. Bye. But if they sat down and they said, well, how can I support you in this? You want to be a successful coach? What is that? How can I be a part of your life and ensure that I can make your dream come true with you? And letting me take the reins and start guiding myself in that direction.
and then he's the one that is actually, because you're asking how can I, and then he's telling you, okay, this is how I would like to support it, I would like you to encouragement, blah blah blah, whatever. So he's actually the one seeking the support, like you are telling them I'm available to support, but how do you want me to support? Not like you saying, I want my man to be this. Yeah, you could say that, and like give him he has to also want it. He has to also want it. And the issue is that a lot of women are picking men that are not aligned in terms of even what they want for the future. For example, you want a man that is nonchalant, and it doesn't. A guy will tell you, I just want to live in a small, like, I just want a small life, even if it's a small bungalow, like small house, whatever. And you are a woman that wants to live large and travel the world, and then you're trying to push him to want the same thing as you. And that can be very frustrating. So it's like some women want the man, they have an ideal idea of the kind of man they want, and they want that man, they want to just push that man to fit into that idea. And that, especially if that's not what he wants, but now he's now living through your own dream of him. And if it aligns, then that's great. So you guys are going in the same direction. But if it doesn't align, then it's like he's losing himself trying to be what you want him to be. And when it becomes that, you won't like it. You won't like it because he's a different person from who you met, that you fell in love with. And yeah.
Well, and I can almost guarantee you that when he comes out the other side, he will be resentful of you.
Yeah.
There will be some hatred towards you because you didn't want a husband. You
Yeah.
didn't want a boyfriend. You wanted a Build-A-Bear. And you did not like him. That's why you had to change him. And
Yeah.
he's going to be aware on the subconscious level, you didn't like me. And it's the
Mm,
same thing with, for example, building a man up. If you're telling him what to do, if you're leading him by the nose, the man is well aware you don't respect him. If you truly respected him, you would trust that he would move in the right direction. You would trust that you could support him in his dreams and he would be successful. Yes, you may have to help at times, quote, at times, but you're not leading him around because he understands that he's in charge. This is his dream, and you're here to support him.
That's really, I actually like this conversation because I think it has a lot of debate online over this, and people are really not sure. And I even hear the way some men explain it. I don't think they even understand too, because some men are not also sure why they do what they do. But I think I like the way you explain it. So I think it's been a lovely conversation. So Adam, if you want to leave anything for the ladies out there, or for the ladies out there, when it comes to what men sees when it comes to like I value men, what would it be before we go?
What men love to see is a woman that is at ease, is at confidence with herself, but also is accepting. Someone who they can sit down and say, this woman's going to add so much peace to my life. I can't wait to have her.
Oh, that's sweet and that's lovely. And yeah, and I would say for the women out there, if you're trying to be an high value woman, please make sure you're doing this for yourself first. And everything else will come through from that. So yeah, so it's been an amazing conversation about self-worth. And we're actually looking forward to what you have to say about the topic I value women. And if you want to, feel free to share your experience. Or Adam, what do you think?
I would love to hear your guys' experience and what you guys think is a high value woman down in the comments. So please also remember to like, subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.